Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Trent. This is Rams Talk. Welcome to the Rams versus 49ers game preview. Odell Beckham Jr. to the Rams, Von Miller, all that good stuff. This is a jam-packed show. We got everything you want. If you're a Rams fan, this is the place to be. I've been back. I'm back now. I took some time off for some personal stuff. All good, but I mean, there's just too much going on right now. I just can't believe it. I see some people here in the waiting room. Ernesto Polanco, great buddy of mine. Ernesto, what is going on? We got Rams House in here. Taylor Aguirre Anderson. Good to see you too. Good to see everyone. I mean, this is just crazy. Like, honestly, being a Rams fan these days is like Christmas every week. Like, you wake up and what's the present? Or it's in the middle of the day. What's the present? Von Miller is the present. OBJ is the present. Matthew Stafford's the present. Like, everything's the present. It's SoFi Stadium's the present. Everything is good. Everything is good. And I'm really pumped to be bringing this to you. So if you're watching this on replay, chime in here on the comments. Let me know what you think about not only this game, because to me, this is probably the most nervous I've been for a game this year, because I hate the 49ers. For all you young Rams fans out there, or Rams fans that are new to the Ramley, if you will, the 49ers, if anyone asks, the 49ers are our rival. It's not the Seahawks. I mean, yeah, they're a rival, but our number one rival, San Francisco 49ers. This goes back to the pre-St. Louis days, then to St. Louis, and now back. Just think of Dodgers Giants. It's the same thing, right? So this is the game that the Rams need to win. They need to break that 0-4 streak against the 49ers. And speaking of all-time record, the 49ers own that. They're 73, 67-3 against the Rams. So, the Rams need to win 6 more consecutive games just to break even 500 with the 49ers all time. Now, one thing I just got to say, this thing is something that just bothers me, but this is what happens when you listen to the mainstream sports media. You hear this: Sean McVay is 0-4 against Kyle Shanahan. Yeah, over the last 2 years. Take that out. They both started in 2017. They both became head coaches in 2017. And since 2017, Kyle Shanahan has the edge to the Rams. There, he's 5-3 against Sean McVay. But caveat: in 2017, the Rams were on their way to the playoffs, and in the final game of the year, they rested all of their starters. That's when the 49ers also pulled off the trade for Jimmy G, and they kind of got on a hot streak at the end of the year. But the Rams rested all their starters. There's no doubt in my mind, had the Rams played that entire 2017 roster, that they would have beaten the 49ers. Then they would have been 4-4 against each other, right? Coming into this in their first 4 years. So even if you took the first 2 years of their rivalry, Sean McVay was 3-1 against Kyle Shanahan. But everyone just wants to say, oh, Kyle Shanahan owns Sean McVay because he beat him the last 4 times. Sean McVay is 3-5, really 4-4 against Kyle Shanahan. So I'm really not going to buy into that stupid narrative. I mean, come on, Kyle Shanahan is 32-40 as a head coach. And I know injuries played a big part of that. And, that's bad luck there. But, maybe you should have someone like Reggie Scott, because the Rams have just their strength and conditioning and medical staff is top notch. Yeah, they lose guys, but they don't, they're not like the 49ers. So anyways, I just wanted to get that off my chest about the 49ers and the Kyle Shanahan owns McVay thing. And I'm just going to say this, though. You listen to anyone talking about this matchup, and it's, the 49ers are lost. They're struggling. So many injuries again. Like every part of the team is melting down outside of probably Trent Williams, But it doesn't matter what the records are. It doesn't matter what happened last week. The 49ers always play the Rams tough. Always. You look back at the last couple of years, when the 49ers, like last year, when the 49ers were depleted by injuries, and they still beat the Rams twice, because they came to play and they played tough. And also Jared Goff was the quarterback for the Rams, and that didn't help us out at all. But to me, I'm looking at this game as 0-0 records in the season. First game of the season, throwing everything else that happened before out the window, because like this, it is a cliche, but it is real any given Sunday. And especially when it comes down to the 49ers and the Rams. I am not like, when the Rams play the Texans, I'm like, yeah, Rams got it. When they're playing the Giants, yeah, they got it. There are certain teams like that 3-game stretch they won on. I didn't really feel like the opponents had a chance against the Rams, but the 49ers definitely do. They're 1 game out of the 7th seed, right? So it's not like they're just completely down and out and forgotten for the year. Like there is a scenario where the 49ers make the playoffs, a real one. So they're fighting for something. Granted, it's not all, roses over there, but like I'm guarantee you they're getting up for this game, and the Rams need to match that. And that's the thing, the last couple of years, especially last year, didn't feel like the Rams matched the intensity of the 49ers. So the Rams got to bring it. And the thing that I'm also kind of worried about is the OBJ Von Miller distraction. So last week, we're walking on sunshine because Von Miller's a Ram, right? And then we get into Sunday Night Football, and it's just like we get demolished. And it almost, I'm sure the players would say that they weren't distracted at all, but they kind of were a little bit. Like the week leading up to that, the week, like on a normal week, no trades, nothing, out of the ordinary happening. Like you're just focused on the week, the opponent coming up. And I think that the Von Miller signing took away a little bit from the Rams' concentration, all that stuff, and I worry a little bit about that with OBJ going into 49ers week. Like I know that the coaching staff and the players do a pretty good job of compartmentalizing, but you're still human. You're still, all this time and energy spent recruiting OBJ and just thinking about it and then integrating him into the team pulls you away from like the core, drive of playing the team ahead of you. So I just feel that this, I hope it's not a distraction. The Rams are a veteran team, and the Titans are good. I'm not saying they lost to the Titans just because they were excited about Von Miller. The Titans came to play, but these are real things. Players are human, and they can get caught up in these things too. So I feel like that's really what the Rams need to kind of look out for. And who knows if OBJ's how much he's going to contribute this week, or Von Miller as well. And I've kind of been debating, like, what do I get into first, the OBJ or the 49ers? I kind of got into the 49ers. So I'm just going to be bobbing and weaving between a bunch of different things here. And I'll also take a look at some of the comments coming in here. And we got 35 people in here. It's great to see all of you guys. I really appreciate that, Christian. I missed you all, honestly. But speaking of Christmas, do you have a P.O. box or something somewhere we can send you some stuff from the States? Hey, Anderson, I really appreciate that, man. But you know what? Check this out. I'm going to be in the States over Christmas. So still trying to figure out my itinerary. We booked tickets. So I'll be in the States from the 23rd through the 7th of January. Unfortunately, the Rams don't have any home games during that stretch. So that's kind of a bummer. But I would really like to go to SoFi and go to the team store there and just go crazy. I've yet to walk into like a Rams merch like paradise. So I will be doing that. So I'll give you guys some information on that, Anderson. I appreciate that. But it would be even better at some point in time if we just, all got together at a sports bar and watched a game and bought each other some beers. Jalen Ramsey has really got on the phone and recruited OBJ. Yeah, and that's the cool thing about the Rams that I love. And here's another narrative that I don't love, actually, though, is the narrative that OBJ's personality is, he's too, can kind of be a diva and all these things. And you know what? We've heard this countless times before, starting in 2018 when we got Ndamukong Suh, we brought in Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib, and it was, what are you going to do with these personalities? And that was not a problem at all. And then you go into Dante Fowler and Jalen Ramsey, not a problem at all. And so I think what happened with the Rams since Sean McVay got into town was the culture shifted. And when you have leaders like Whitworth and Aaron Donald, things aren't going to fly when you have like some of the best players at their position, being the leaders of the team, some of the best players in the NFL on the leaders on the team, So I have no doubt, like, Von Miller is like just a good guy. He's one of the best players of all time, and he's a really good guy, and he's just got a strong character, positive dude. He, even though he's a newcomer to the team, he's not going to let someone slip up. You look at the receiver room with Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and Van Jefferson, and like, they can absorb a personality, because I think the difference to me between Deshaun Jackson and OBJ, aside from like just the skill set and everything, is just the mentality. I feel like OBJ is a guy who is like, yeah, like, I want to have a good quarterback. I want to be on a winning team, and I want to get some action. And I think he's way more open to winning a Super Bowl and going deep into the playoffs and playing primetime football. Like, they have so many primetime games throughout the end of the year. And I think for him, this is like, rehab his, I don't say rehab his image is really the right word or phrase for this, but, I think he can do a lot of good. And I think he realizes that. And I think at a certain point, you want to be happy. You want to be happy. And I think going to the Rams and those guys and the culture and I just feel like the good vibes and the love in that locker room and with those players, when you have Jalen Ramsey and all these guys on speakerphone, like saying, come on, man, Von Miller, like, best players in the game, saying, come on, man, we want you over here. Like, we'll do this. Let's all be together. Let's sacrifice and do it together. Like, you feed off of that. And I think OBJ's gotten a bad rap on some part of it. I don't think he's like dogged it. I don't think he's, been a cancer in the locker room, but there are some aspects to him that have rubbed people the wrong way. But I think he's going to come in. I think it's going to be fine. I have no questions about how he'll be in the locker room. Now, Deshaun Jackson is a me, not we guy, and it's that simple, and that's fine for him. I think it's kind of piss poor. Deshaun Jackson, like, is he making more money on the Raiders? Will he have made more money on the Raiders? He basically opted to get a couple more catches and completely burn the LA bridge. Like, that's so strange to me. And that's kind of the first time in the Sean McVay era that a player has come in and been like, nope, I'm out of here. You don't really see that. Usually it's like the Rams are the ones saying, okay, we're done, or contract's up, or this isn't working out. But never as a player. Like, I think he's probably the first player to say, nope, I'm out of here. And, when you're Odell Beckham Jr. and you could probably have get more catches in other places, but you knowingly go into the situation, then I don't think he can turn around and say, I have a problem with this because I'm not getting enough touches. So I think, for OBJ, I know that when Tutu went down, that's kind of weird to say. When Deshaun Jackson went out, or when he bailed, and Tutu went down, and then now Jacob Harris is down, you're like, okay, what depth do we have at wide receiver? Yeah, we have 3 really good receivers. But after that, I mean, Ben Skowronek, I like Ben Skowronek, but like, can you depend on him as a third receiver? So I was just generally worried about depth at the position. So now you get OBJ, and I think, obviously Van Jefferson's numbers are going to suffer on this, and probably Robert Woods. And I think it's going to be across the board. I don't think it's just going to be like Van Jefferson's like the only guy that's out. I think, Cooper Kupp was on pace for breaking the all-time yardage record for a wide receiver. I don't think that's happening anymore. So, I think they're all going to sacrifice a little bit, but OBJ's got to block, and, he's got to be a team player. And I don't think there will be a problem with that. Now, one thing that I was thinking about with the Rams right now, because we're pretty much the midway point of the season, this is our last game before the bye, big game, is that all this fun stuff has been happening to the Rams and for us as Rams fans in the last, 3 weeks or so. I mean, the first part of the season, basically entire season except for 2 games have been really awesome for Rams and Rams fans. And it reminds me of movies. You have the first and the second act where, boy meets girl first act, boy and girl fall in love in the second act. And in the third act, there's some sort of conflict, car accident, ex-girlfriend comes in, messes things up, and at the end they get back together. It's a happy ending. But the conflict comes in the third act. And right now I feel like we're wrapping up the second act, because when we get back from the bye, we got Green Bay. I mean, it's a gauntlet of a schedule. It's Green Bay, it's Arizona again, it's Seattle again, it's San Francisco again, it's it's Jacksonville. Then it's Baltimore. I'm probably missing another team, but it's a tough one. It is definitely a tough one. Oh, Vikings. So this is just remember this right now because I don't think I think it'll be much more difficult down the third act of the schedule. And this is the happy part in the movie, and then it all kind of goes down. I'm not saying it's going down, but I'm just saying, the OBJ thing has to be sorted out. The Von Miller thing has to be sorted out. They've already lost some players for the season that maybe we haven't felt the impact yet. So there's a lot of unknowns up ahead, and I just kind of want to stay in this moment for the rest of the season. But I am also pretty pumped about this game on Monday. So after that, let me get into some questions here or some comments. But Brandon says, I've been waiting to hear my thoughts. You took one break and we got Von Miller and OBJ within a week and a half. Yeah, seriously, I'm sitting here seeing these things. I just couldn't get to the time to put out a video or do a live stream. And I'm just like, oh, seriously, come on. So this is making up for lost time. But I've been like listening to the podcast during work and stuff. And maybe I shouldn't say that, but I've been tuned in. I just haven't had the time to really go all in on it. And one thing about the Von Miller trade that I will say is that it's not just the Les Snead mantra of F those picks. It's really like, the Rams value picks. They just value them differently. And would you rather have Jalen Ramsey or Kayvon Chiasson and Travis Etienne of the Jaguars or Jalen Ramsey? So the Rams traded basically those two guys. Those were the 2 first rounders that the Jags used, and the Rams picked Jalen Ramsey. Would you rather spend all your draft picks on Trey Lance or all your draft picks on Matthew Stafford? So it's like, did the 49ers get killed about, oh, you traded all your first rounders for Trey Lance? No, it was like, oh, this is exciting stuff, right? So it's how you use your picks, and I will take proven guys. Like, look at the Rams. They in the last 5 years, they have been competitive. They have been a top team in the NFL in the last 5 years with this system, with the way of trading picks. So I have no problem when they trade these picks for Von Miller. Like part of me is like, like that's tough, but second rounder, it's Tutu Atwell. So we basically they might have just traded Tutu Atwell and Ernest Jones. I think has got a lot of promise. But would you trade Tutu Atwell and Ernest Jones for Von Miller? So, and speaking of Tutu Atwell, I see that Brian Allen is questionable, or I don't know about what kind of practice he'll get in today on Friday. And Coleman Shelton might start at center. And listen, I've been kind of a Tutu Atwell supporter only in the sense that we haven't seen him do what his job really should be. The Rams should never have drafted him as a punt returner. They should have gotten a punt returner to be a punt returner. And I think that's, people are projecting the fact that the Rams punt return game and kick return game sucks, and they're saying it's Tutu Atwell's fault. No, that's a Les Snead problem. That is Les Snead's fault. The fact that the Rams have not brought in a specific guy. And then you look at Deshaun Jackson and it's like, why weren't you returning punts? I mean, I know he's older and you want to avoid hits and stuff, but it's like, that guy probably would have had 10 more touches this season, or 15 more touches this season if he was the punt returner. And I know that was all part of his incentive-based salary, but anyways, so Tutu, and it's a shame. I mean, I would have liked to have seen Tutu just get regular wide receiver snaps or jet motion snaps and just let him do those things that he's done in his college career, right? So yet at the same time, now that they have 4 receivers with OBJ, and I know this is just for this year, it's not long-term, like Tutu would be a long-term guy, or, the next 4 or 5 years on a rookie contract. But now it's like, he wouldn't be on the field. He would not be on the field this year. But who could be on the field this year is Creed Humphrey. Now we have to, like, Brian Allen, maybe he just had promise in the first half of the season. He got steamrolled against the Titans. I mean, the Titans have good interior defensive line, but he looked very human in that game. And now potentially Coleman Shelton's the guy. Now imagine if Brian Allen was knocked out and wasn't going to play, and now we have Creed Humphrey stepping in as center. Now we have a long-term center solution, and we still have our 4 receivers. Like, these are the things. So, like, I generally trust in Snead and the front office to make the right decisions, but every team does not nail the draft. Like, most teams do not nail the draft. Like, Bryson Hopkins. Oops. Right? So it happens. But also, speaking of nailing the draft, I honestly personally think that Ernest Jones could be a Pro Bowl caliber player. I think the more reps he gets, the more experience he gets, is going to just really, like, I think we're going to see this guy's going to be an epic Ram player for a long time. I just have a good vibe about Ernest Jones. And I watched the Rams Revealed with JB Long. I totally recommend it for you guys. But I think Ernest Jones is the man. So let's go through some more comments here. Chris Cortez, Cliff is Shanahan's daddy. Yeah. I mean, that game last week was crazy. Colt McCoy taking it to the 49ers. I mean, I loved it. I mean, great. And this is the thing I'm stuck between is Cardinals winning or the Seahawks or Niners losing. And it's hard for me to think big picture. I just think it's like in movies, if you assume someone's dead, they usually aren't. Like, you have to see them die to know that they're dead, right? To, like, just know it. And the 49ers and the Seahawks, I will not believe that they're out of the playoffs until they're out of the playoffs. And so I just almost feel like it's fine for Arizona, but the Rams need to win the division so they can have home field. But the Rams still play Arizona, and so that can be, there's a lot of football left, but I still want to see the 49ers and Seahawks just get rolled the rest of the year because, like I said before, I feel like if the Seahawks miss the playoffs and it's kind of a downward spiral for them, Russell Wilson is gone. And that's great. That's great for a Rams fan. So I think the 49ers consider the Seahawks more of a rival, even though they've played the Rams the longest in the same division. That's interesting, Gil. I disagree, but I think it's like close. I think a lot of between these 3 teams, the Rams, the Seahawks, and the 49ers, I think it's like it's all very close on who is like the main rival, but I mean, it's all kind of neck and neck. I mean, just think of Jamal Adams and the Seahawks and the Rams. So, I mean, we hate them pretty much. That Deebo Samuel play from last year bothered me when everyone thought he was tackled, but he wasn't. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And that's another thing. You notice on the thumbnail of this video on YouTube, I put Aaron Donald and Deebo Samuel because of that beef that they have going on. Granted, they don't like actually, play, like, go up against each other. It's not like a cornerback and a wide receiver, but there's a beef between those two. And I really want to see the Rams just take Deebo Samuel out. Like, that's kind of a player I want to see Jalen Ramsey just lock in and just I want Deebo Samuel out of the game, put 2 people on Kittle, and, just man up and go zone on the rest of the guys. So, and a lot of talk on Brandon Ayuk, right? And Brandon Ayuk had a pretty solid rookie season, but Van Jefferson is outperforming him in year 2. Van Jefferson was a 2nd-round pick that didn't get all the hype and the fantasy football hype that Brandon Ayuk got, and everyone loves Brandon Ayuk. Van Jefferson is like completely outperformed him in the season, like in season 2. So, I mean, Brandon Ayuk had a big game last week, but, we'll see. We'll see if he's out of the doghouse for real. But, I mean, speaking of those guys and Deebo and Kittle and Ayuk and Elijah Mitchell, I mean, that's a good find for the 49ers. But what the 49ers do, and Jimmy Garoppolo is very much like Jared Goff in the sense that he's not going downfield. He's not bombs over Baghdad like Matthew Stafford. He is horizontal. They're all about the stretch out, outside zone, getting guys in space, like around the line of scrimmage, and trying to get them yards after the catch. It's very much like the Rams offense of last year. They want to go horizontal, get the ball in the hands of their playmakers, and let them do the work. And so the Rams really need to be fast on the edges, and they need to contain the catch and runs, right? You can't just like have a guy catch the ball kind of like close to in the flats and then have like 10 yards with no one around him. So that's really what I want to see the Rams do is really be fast and cover those horizontal routes, because Debo has the speed to go vertical, but like that's just not what Jimmy Garoppolo likes to do. So that's going to be interesting. And speaking of Von Miller, I feel like this is going to be really, really interesting if he plays. So big hit to the 49ers is the fact that their right tackle, Mike McGlinchey, is out. Now, their pass protection on their offensive line has been pretty solid this season. And Mike McGlinchey going down is a big, big blow to that team. Great for us, terrible for San Francisco. And so they have 2 first-round players in Aaron Banks, who was a second-round pick, and then Jalen Moore. Now, Aaron Banks is more of a guard, and Brunskill has been playing guard this season. And last week against Arizona, once McGlinchey went out, the Cardinals were just loading up that right side. He allowed 5 pressures and 2 sacks. He's better than that, but I feel like they're not going to put in veteran Tom Compton in at right tackle. I think that's just not, that's a turnstile. If it's Tom Compton and Brunskill on the right side, wow. So this is the chess game that I'm really interested in seeing. You have Trent Williams on the left side, right? So it's almost like whoever you put against Trent Williams, you're taking that, you're canceling that guy out. Is that Leonard Floyd? Is that Von Miller? Is that Obo or Terrell Lewis? Because you have Aaron Donald, you have Von Miller, assuming he plays, and you have Leonard Floyd. And what if you just like overloaded the right side with those 3 guys? Now, San Francisco traditionally runs away from Aaron Donald. So if he's on the right, they go to the left and vice versa. So there's just a lot of intricacies to this. Now, I personally believe that if you put Von Miller on the right side and maybe you have Aaron Donald lined up over center or over the guard, you have those 2 guys on the right, maybe Leonard Floyd on the left, then maybe you have George Kittle staying in to block more. So I think that's going to be kind of, that's another chess match to watch. Like, how much is George Kittle having to stay in and help out on the right side of that offensive line? So Mike McGlinchey going down isn't just bad news for the 49ers in terms of who on the offensive line for them is actually going to play and play well and be competent, but also how much help are you going to need from George Kittle, thus taking him out of the passing game. So that's going to be, for me, in terms of personnel and matchups, that's going to be one of the top things to watch is how do the Rams line up on defense and how are the 49ers going to protect? I feel like it's going to be a lot of running. I feel like it's going to be a lot of short and quick passes, kind of like what they've always done. So there you go. On the flip side, Andrew Whitworth versus Nick Bosa is going to be interesting. And also, what do the Rams do at center and the interior line versus, Eric Armstead? I think they moved him into the middle. And also DJ Jones. So yeah. Now, also the thing that the OBJ brings to the Rams that I think I've been asking this since the beginning of the season, especially when Matthew Stafford came in, is whenever the Rams play a team, I'm like, who are your cornerbacks? Because now we have 4 guys, not including Hendo or Higbee, right? Or any, other players. I guess that's really it right now. Who are your cornerbacks? Who's going to guard all 3 guys? And the 49ers secondary is Swiss cheese. And it was very thin coming in the year, but they had Jason Verrett. And Verrett was injury prone, but he had a really good year last year. And he's out for the season now this year, unfortunately for the 49ers. And so when you look at the 49ers secondary, Emmanuel Mosley has been very serviceable. Kwan Williams has been all right. He's our nickel. But there's 2 guys that are like Josh Norman and Dre Kirkpatrick. They're not it. They're not it. Whoever, and remember Odell Beckham Jr. versus Josh Norman, when Josh Norman was on the Panthers or the Redskins, and Redskins, I think. And Odell was on the Giants, and Josh Norman got in his head, and Odell Beckham was like kicking the net, the kicker's net, and like throwing that, and like completely melted down. And Josh Norman last week, I think he was pulled from the game because of shenanigans, because he was just getting all hot and bothered. He's a hothead. So, and he's not that good anymore. And Drake Kirkpatrick got like decleated. Like he got injured on a hit by, Benjamin. So yeah, if you're 49ers secondary, how are you going to cover the Rams? So basically the offensive line needs to allow Matthew Stafford enough time to get the ball out. Now, here's another point. Sorry, I keep rambling here. I promise I'll get to all the comments, but one of the things I noticed about last week's game for the Rams was that they didn't vary anything up. Yeah, they were in 11 personnel the whole time, but they didn't do play action. They weren't doing jet sweeps. It was all Matthew Stafford holding the ball on, waiting for deep passing plays. And that's one thing I love about Matthew Stafford is going down the field, explosives, stretching the defense. But you got to mix in the short passes. You got to mix in the intermediates. You got to do the jet sweeps. You got to do play action. The Rams have to mix it up. And especially if the center is out and Coleman Shelton's there, you got to get the ball out quickly. You got to vary it up, actually. So you have to make sure that you're throwing to the running back, that you're throwing shorter slants, going for yards after the catch, being a little like having a little bit of Jared Goff action, but still then stretching it, further down the field. And I think that's one of the things where with Johnny Monk going out, the Rams are now really 11 personnel centric. And, it worked a lot in 2017 and 2018. 2019 is when it didn't, and the Rams had to adjust. And then they varied it between 11 and 12 personnel. But maybe we'll see some 10 personnel. I don't know. What's the running game going to be, right? Like how much are they going to commit to the run? How much will Odell Beckham Jr. really change the offense in a way, like in terms of, okay, now we have him and we're going to have to throw it even more, right? So I'm really interested to see how McVay continues with the offense. I'm hoping that they'll make adjustments based on what they did last week against Tennessee, because they were just so, I think, a little too predictable. And I'm also curious because I'm sure maybe that's because Sean McVay didn't, knowing that Kyle Shanahan was coming up a week later, and knowing that it's Kyle Shanahan and it's the 49ers and this game means more than the Titans game, that he was keeping some stuff in his back pocket. So and one other thing I didn't really talk about that really bummed me out, and I think was like the most disappointing news of the year, was Sebastian Joseph Day out for the season. And that's tough. Probably one of the most underrated players in the NFL. He had 38 tackles and 3 sacks. And I want to say like defensive stop rate, like there was some crazy metric where he was like, he's one of the better run stuffing D tackles, interior linemen in football. This is a contract year for him. So I personally feel for him on that. And that's no doubt about it. That's a loss. Now, Greg Gaines, I mean, the Rams have depth, which you talk to just random NFL fans who are like, the Rams, they're so top heavy. And it's like, yeah, I mean, they are top heavy. They have like so many stars, right? Don't get me wrong, but like they have a lot of depth too. Maybe not at a blocking tight end, which I would love to have seen them bring in. I think Sosa said this on Locked On Rams, like a Delaney Walker or even Fells from Houston. Bring in a guy, maybe Kendall Blanton can be that, but Sebastian Joseph Day, I mean, he's a great guy, great personality, having the best season of his career, free, like a walk season, and he's out. But Greg Gaines, Ashawn Robinson, Bobby Brown being activated now, I feel like, the Rams can still mitigate this a bit, but still that's a huge loss. I mean, and it's weird. I feel like I'd rather have Sebastian Joseph Day, SJD, and Johnny Month than OBJ. Honestly, I feel like that's where that would help the Rams more. But anyways, I digress. Okay, I'm gonna do the comments now, guys. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Okay. Animals with Horn says, to me, this game is bigger than the Titans, more important to win, I think anyways. Animals with Horns, I totally agree with you. I was a Rams fan in the 90s. The Rams were the second worst team in the NFL in the entire decade of the 90s, and they lost to the 49ers 17 consecutive times. It leaves a mark. It cuts deep. That's why I hate the 49ers. I'll always hate the 49ers. And there's nothing anyone can say to make me feel otherwise. But I think this definitely is more important. I am definitely so ready to see Vaughn in action. Have you guys seen his thighs? Like that's like, I can't believe those are real thighs. His thighs are insane. Hey, what's up, Bill? AMS. Good to see you again. It must be Christmas because I love the gifts under the Rams tree this year. I mean, it's crazy. Like in 2016, the Rams receivers were Kenny Britt, Tavon Austin, Brian Quick. Now they're Odell Beckham Jr., Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and Van Jefferson. I mean, like, come on. Like, that's just it's crazy how far we've come as an organization and as fans. If you've been through the bleak times, it's crazy how far we've come. And Bill, it's good to see you too. Kevin Jeter, I can't wait to watch the 49ers destroy the Rams on Monday. Why would you say that, Kevin Jeter? Come on. I don't think they're going to destroy the Rams, okay? If they win, it's not going to be destroy. And I'll tell you right now, my key to this whole game, number one key to this game for the Rams, turnovers. Don't turn the ball over. The Rams don't turn the ball over. They will win this game. Last year, what killed the Rams? Jared Goff throwing a pick six to Javon Kinlaw, throwing a interception in the end zone to Verrett. Like, he just turning the ball over all the time, turning the ball over, fumbling it before when they were in field goal range. Like, just Jared Goff killed the Rams last year against the 49ers. And the two games that the Rams have lost this year have been turnover games. Matthew Stafford last week against Tennessee. You take away those turnovers or there's turnovers in those situations, it's a different story. Against Arizona, he threw the deep ball that was intercepted, so Michel fumbled. I mean, that was it right there. So the turnovers for the Rams have been what really have been the deciding factors in games that they've lost. So, I mean, this is why we brought in Matthew Stafford, was to not be Jared Goff with the turnovers. I mean, Jared Goff, to me, it was two things. It was the fact that he couldn't throw the ball downfield anymore and the fact that he turned it over way too many times. So we just can't turn the ball over. And I tell you what, Kevin Jeter, if the Rams don't turn the ball over, then they're going to win this game. Fishing Rod, man, if the Rams would have just drafted Creed Humphrey, I would feel much better about the rest of the seasons and playoffs. Yeah, if we had Creed Humphrey, if Sebastian Joseph Day and Johnny Munt were healthy, I mean, like, then it's like game over. However, I still am feeling iffy at cornerback, our third cornerback. Like, I like Dante Deon. I think Robert Rochelle has promised, but we're going to see how that is really going to shape up throughout the rest of the year. And LaFonso says, go Rams. And I say, go Rams to you, LaFonso. Craig C says the Kevin Jeter, I think it's going to get saucy in here. You just got that switched around, my guy. Rams destroy 49ers. Fixed it for you. Oh, no, Greg C was very respectful. I like that. Getting along here. We need to run the ball more. Yeah. I mean, I think it's really, don't get me wrong. Like, if we can do, like, the first week against the Bears, where we were just bombs away, and we didn't really have a big time of possession because we just had quick scoring strikes. But I really love, like, the 6-minute drive with a touchdown at the end. So yeah, and that's another thing. I just popped in my head is OBJ and Van Jefferson. Sorry, so I just kind of I was thinking about the long bombs. People say, yeah, Odell can take the top off. I'm like, well, Van Jefferson has had 2 really long catches this year. They say OBJ can, is really good at the high point of the football. I'm like, yeah, Van Jefferson caught that, pass on the left side of the end zone where Stafford threw it up for him. I'm not saying that Van Jefferson is better than OBJ at these things, but like OBJ or Van Jefferson brings these things to the table. But hey, let's see OBJ in the red zone now. Imagine you're lining up all these guys out there and you got OBJ to think about. Hot damn. Andre says, go Rams. On the Bucs game, Deshaun Jackson was thrown a deep pass and he caught it in the 20, he went out of bounds instead of trying to run and score. Yep. Yeah. I mean, Deshaun Jackson was making a business decision right there. And it's weird. It's like I really want to believe, like at first when Deshaun Jackson said, I'm out of here, I was thinking, okay, he's 34. Maybe all he wants to do in the rest of his career is just play more football. Maybe like, you're like, I don't have many years left. I just want to be on the field. I just want to be in the mix. Right. And I get that to an extent, but it's like, you could be in the mix still, be managed for injury because the last 2 years he barely played because of injury. Catch some bombs, potentially win a Super Bowl. So, but whatever. Like he's a me, not we. You gone. Bill says we can thank the Lions for OBJ because we put in for Reynolds and the Lions got him. If the Rams got Reynolds, maybe they don't go after OBJ. Totally agree on that. And I think, that's a smart move for the Lions though, as well, because I mean, OBJ, I think would have played hardball and said, no, I'm not, like, don't put it. I'm sure OBJ's agents telling teams like, you put in a waiver claim for OBJ. It's not happening. Plus, I think they would have had to take some of his salary. So I don't know if that would have worked out, but I'm hopeful that Josh Reynolds can rekindle a little something with Jared Goff. Oh, Ram fan Ashton is in here. What's up, man? Good to see you. Ashton's good people here. Rams house says, I hope Allen plays. Me too. I hope Creed Humphrey plays for the Rams. But I mean, I think Creed Humphrey is going to be the one that got away. Sadly, I do. Derek Garcia says, how do you think we will handle punt and kick returner? I mean, at punt, I almost feel like it's just putting Cooper Kupp back there to fair catch. And I think for the Rams, for kick returner, whoever catches it in the end zone, even if you're just like one blade of grass in the end zone, just kneel, just take it out to the 25. Don't even try and run it out. Don't just never run the ball out of the end zone ever. I kind of feel like the Rams are giving up on having any kind of competent returner. And when I say not even competent, I just mean someone who's going to do something and make a splash. You rarely see returns for touchdowns, but I just don't even think the special teams blocking is that good anyway. So I think if I'm the Rams, I'm just like, let's just play it safe on special teams and just play field position in that regard. So unfortunately, that's it. I mean, it'd be great if the Rams had like gone after some other guys, but it would, with Tutu Atwell, it's a bummer because the guy picked right before him was Dwayne Eskridge, who changed his name to D. Eskridge, and he was a big-time punt returner and kick returner in college as well as a wide receiver, and he went to the Seahawks, and I feel like that, like, having someone like that would have been better than Tutu just because of his diversified skill set, if you will. Rams fan Ashton says, look at the Dolphins and the Raiders. Just because you hoard picks doesn't mean anything if you can't pick correctly. Rams go for quantity of quality of picks, and they actually hit. No, Ram fan Ashton is correct. I mean, look at Henry Ruggs and Deontay or whatever that guy, Amonte, whatever. For 2 first-rounders from last year are gone. I think most of their draft picks from last year are not on the team anymore. The Dolphins will have had 12 first-round picks between 2016 or 2017 and 2023 or 2023, and they're 2-7. Like the draft is a huge gamble. It's a huge gamble. And the only, like, to me, having a first rounder just means cost control. If you have a top 10 pick, you have a much better chance of getting a really good player that's cost controlled. If you're 15 to 30, it's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot. And that's and then that's another thing that people don't talk about with the Rams when the picks they're trading away are going to be like the 27th pick. So, if the Rams have, what's the difference between the 15th pick and the, 40th pick? Not a lot. So, I mean, of course, if the Rams had like 20 first round picks the next 2 years, it'd be like, yeah, look at the first round picks we have. A lot of viewers, where are the like buttons? Hey, yeah, guys, where are the like buttons? Come on, Derek Garcia just called it out. I appreciate that. If people are still here and hanging out, pump it up. Let's get that algorithm going into this, into the YouTube universe. And also check this out. I have a buddy of mine, longtime buddy of mine I've known for 20 years. He was born in Virginia, but was there only for a few years as a kid. So he was like kind of default Redskins fan, or sorry, Washington football team fan. And he just basically gave him up and just said, I'm Rams. He's lived in LA most of his life anyway. And he's like, I'm Rams. I can't do Washington anymore. They suck. The front office the ownership is terrible. Can't watch the games unless it's Sunday ticket. So he's becoming a Rams fan. So like, there you go. Nathan Oliver, good on you, buddy. Good on you. Smart move. Bill says, I got to do some rapid fire here with the questions. It's been coming in. It is a win. It is a win-win with Von Miller and OBJ because we get compensatory picks, maybe 2 third-round picks if we can't sign them back. That's a great, yeah, I forgot to bring that up, Bill, but that is a great point. The Rams are getting like 4 or 5 compensatory picks this year or in the next draft coming up. So when the people say that Rams don't like picks, so they're going to have 8 or 9 picks in this draft coming up, granted, nothing before the 3rd round, but still, Les Snead is going to package things up and move back. So who knows what's going to happen? But, the Rams will fill the cupboard again. But that's another thing. Normal fans do not understand the compensatory pick formula, not just the formula, but like the whole playing that game with the compensatory pick. So, of course, they say stupid things. But Bill, good point. Rams House, we are literally putting Cooper Kupp for punt returns. That is literally correct. We are, and that's not good. Rams House, I love Ernest Jones. Me too. Watch the Rams revealed with him. Look at that game that he had, against Texans, and he's going to be good. Matt Gates is a pedophile. I agree on that. Passing on Humphrey is going to haunt this franchise. It's haunting me. Like, I've been a Tutu believer. Tutu Atwell still might be like pretty decent player for the Rams, right? But man, imagine it. Like, Brian Allen's going to be a free agent after this year. The Rams going to lock him up to a long-term deal? I don't think so. So imagine if Creed Humphrey just had that whole center spot just locked down for the next 4 or 5 years. Right. Rand Van Ashton says, to me, I tried to tell everyone the night we drafted Jones. I watched him 3 years in college, and he balls. He was the reason South Carolina ever had a defense. So, Rand Van Ashton, I'll give you credit on this one. Ernest Jones. And, the Rams, that was like one of those that was like a deeper than the stat sheet kind of thing. It was all these different like profiles they did on him, leadership profiles and stuff. And, I think it's just one of the intangibles with him is that his, the future will be better than his past. If that makes sense. Like, he's going to really show people what he's all about. Orlando Munoz Escalante says, hello, Trent. What's up, Orlando? How are you? Anderson, what do you think our record will be at the end of the season? Also, how have you enjoyed watching Nick Wright have to try and defend his Chiefs? Oh, I'm glad you asked. So, record at the end of the season, I think the Rams will be 13-4, which two losses the rest of the way. I don't really know. I think Green Bay is going to be a tough game for them, but they're coming off a bye. But also, I feel like the Rams are really terrible coming off the bye. I remember like a couple of years ago, 2019 against Pittsburgh, coming off the bye, and Roethlisberger wasn't healthy, and Juju wasn't healthy, and their running back wasn't. It was like they were playing a ghost team, and they still lost. So I think 13-4 is realistic for the Rams. I think they'll beat Arizona. I think they'll beat Seattle again. I'm hopeful that they sweep the 49ers. Who are they going to lose to then? Because I think they'll beat the Vikings, Jacksonville. Like, Green Bay is really the one that I'm really worried about. But we'll see. But I think. What about you? What do you think, Anderson? What do you think their record will be? And to your Nick Wright thing, it's just, he's making excuses for the Chiefs. And it's weird because I don't have anything against the Chiefs really, other than Nick Wright is a Chiefs fan. So I root against the Chiefs because of Nick Wright. I want to see him having a tough time as a football fan. So, what do you think? What do you think about Nick Wright having to defend his Chiefs? And I think it's one of these things. Both him and Florio, those have been like two of the prominent Rams haters over the last couple of years. They've come around. They've really come around. And I don't know if it's a Jared Goff thing. Maybe we were just like in this bubble of like Jared Goff's really great in the last 2 years, and they were on the outside with a lot of people going like, no, he's not that great. I don't know what it is. You know who I love though is Rich Eisen. Rich Eisen loves the Rams. I mean, like I'm always looking Rich Eisen up on YouTube to see what he's saying about the Rams. And Chris Sims is actually pretty solid on the Rams take. So Orlando says just stepped to say hello and go Rams. I appreciate that, Orlando. Hello, go Rams. I hope all is good. Van Jefferson is who worries me with the OBJ signing. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I think Van will definitely get a reduction in targets, but I think at the same time, and OBJ is not going to step right in against San Francisco and have like 8 targets. So he's going to be eased in, and it's a good thing that they have the bye week after this game, because they'll integrate him more into the playbook and get him onboarded a little bit more. And I think I'm just excited to see what it's all going to look like. But I want to like temper everyone's expectations in that we got Von Miller, we got OBJ, and it's just like to the moon, right? Because they're like real life, like you got to fit things in, you got to absorb people into the culture and the system and work it out. I mean, look at the Bucks last year. They didn't really hit their stride until like after week 10. So it was probably week 12 when they really like clicked. So, now we have some more additions in the middle of the season. So it's going to take a few games, but it's going to be fun. Chris Cortez says, need the Rams to beat the 49ers 50-10 for my psyche. Getting swept last year was a bunch of BS. I agree. Like, we just need to get this monkey off our back. Like, I want to see the Rams come out against the 49ers. I want them to be like, yo, what happened the last 2 years? It's not happening anymore. You guys are done in the NFC West. It's over. Jimmy G, we're going to sack you. Elijah Mitchell, you're going to wish you never picked in the 6th round by this team. George Kittle, you're going to wish you were still on the IR. And Debo, you never say a word about AD. Debo, you don't say a word. So Van Jefferson is a dog. I love Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson pretty much is on pace for, before OBJ, close to 800 yards. How many receivers have 800 yards? And he probably would add about 6, maybe 7 touchdowns. Like, that's a really solid number for a third receiver. I mean, my goodness, he's so like under the radar. It's crazy. One more losing season and we see Shanahan out. I don't think so. I think that unless like the wheels totally come off this year, and unless they lose, how many games do we have left? They have left because they already had their bye. They're 3-5. No, well, anyways, they have like 8 or 9 games. If they lose like 6 more games this year, then yeah, I think they're going to. Like, I don't think so. His contract is pretty tough to get out of, and I don't think they're going to let him go before Trey Lance gets a full season in the NFL. And if Trey Lance is a bust, if Trey Lance is not that great, man, the 49ers have been set back. Man, they're set back. One other thing about OBJ, it's not so much the Rams sign OBJ, it's that other teams don't sign OBJ. It's that the Green Bay Packers don't get him. I totally thought he was going to Green Bay. That would make a ton of sense to me, or even the Patriots. But the fact that they don't get him, I think that's like addition by addition for the Rams. A week ago, I said Rams would pick up OBJ, and you were right, and I was right. J-Jar BMX. Hey, a couple people were floating that out there. I just kind of felt like that wasn't. I knew it was possible because of Les Snead being Les Snead, but I just felt maybe they would go like kind of like a low key addition, like a blocking tight end, or like a special teams player. But hey, good on you, Jar BMX. Like, hey, do you have any numbers for the lottery I can play? Ruiz the Rams, let's go. Let's go. Shanahan has been head coach as long as McVay has been. He has one winning season in 5 years. Yep. So far. Yeah, that's right. But he's a genius. He's a total genius. He just wears players out. And he's had a lot of injuries, but like it's not the fact that he has had some, he's had out of his 5 seasons, one Super Bowl appearance, 2 playoff appearance, 2 non-playoff appearances. It's like he's been terrible every year except for the Super Bowl year. Jack Goff, that's a good one. My only worry about the Rams is the offensive line. Last week they made Aubrey look like Aaron Donald. Yeah, that's a good point, Jack Goff, that the offensive line was stellar up until that game. And granted, Tennessee just was out physicaled them and did all these twists and stunts. I'm hopeful that Brian Allen isn't seriously injured and that the Rams look at that game and they learn. Like someone said, there's no wins and losses, it's wins and learnings or something like that. I'm butchering it, but I think that's really what you have to take away is what did the Tennessee Titans do? How do you mitigate that? And then if you need an extra blocker, who is that? Is it Kendall Blanton? Because I think, that's what you got to do. And you got to learn from these stunts and these twists that the Tennessee Titans did. For sure, O-line took last game off for some reason. Yeah, and then, you're going to get some stinkers. Like honestly, the best players have bad games. The average players have bad games. Like it totally happens. So let's just hope that this is an anomaly. Listen, if the Rams come back, assert themselves physically, don't allow a lot of pressure on Stafford, score a lot of points, dominate the 49ers, look good, create a bunch of turnovers, have good ball security, and they win, go into the bye, we're going to forget about the Titans game, and it's going to just be, we're going to be in such a good place. And that's, like every game you can redefine yourself really. And the 49ers defensive line is not the Titans defensive line. I mean, Nick Bosa is good. Armstead's good, but Jeffrey Simmons is on another level right now. What's up, Philip? We are still best in league in limiting sacks, I believe. Yeah, I think we are too. So, I mean, we just got to get back to that. If that O-line is clicking on all cylinders, then the only thing that's going to stop the Rams are injuries. I totally agree. I think O-line will be fine. Just had one bad game against a physical defensive line. Yeah, one game is not a trend. So we just got to, see how things go. Knock on wood. I agree. I'm going to do that right now. 49ers secondary is barbecue chicken, says books, blunts, and bullshit. Yeah, they are barbecue chicken. I mean, come on. And this is the thing. Last year I did the same thing. I'm like, who's going to stop, the Rams receivers? And it came, with all these secondaries that the Rams are going up against, and I came to find out that it was Jared Goff was stopping the Rams receivers, but we don't have that anymore. So Ray says facts at books and blunts and BS, and I agree. Had a fun debate with my Rams fan friends the other day. Eric Dickerson or Marshall Faulk? I'll go with Marshall Faulk. I like ED. But I don't know. I got to look at the stats because I don't know how many years Marshall Faulk played on the Rams. Because, Eric Dickerson was really awesome on the Rams, but he wasn't on the Rams long. It's like Jerome Bettis. Marshall Faulk was not on the Rams long. But I feel like, and Eric Dickerson didn't have the talent around him that Marshall Faulk did. He had Jackie Slater, but he didn't have Orlando Pace. He didn't have the greatest show on turf. But Marshall Faulk was like the best offensive player, non-quarterback offensive player in football for like 3 or 4 years. The catches, like his combined, yards from scrimmage were like insane. I mean, I was playing fantasy football back then, but I don't even remember. But like Marshall Faulk must have been like Christian McCaffrey on steroids back then. It's late here, but what's up, Rams fan? What's up, Danny Lawrence? How late is it where you are? Olin says, do you think Beckham will impact the amount of targets Cup is getting? I think so. Eventually, not at first, but eventually. But John Johnson was actually interviewed right after the OBJ trade. John Johnson on the Browns. So he's on the Browns with OBJ. He's been on the Rams. And he said that he doesn't know where the targets are going to come from for OBJ. It's not like he's going to get more targets on the Rams than he was on Cleveland because the offense flows through Cooper Kupp. The offense will still flow through Cooper Kupp. He still has a magical rapport with Matthew Stafford, but I assume once OBJ is, in the mix a couple weeks from now, that Kupp will see a few fewer targets. Marshall Faulk is your favorite running back of all time, but Eric Dickerson is that dude. I think my favorite running back of all time is probably Steven Jackson. Just because, if you put Steven Jackson on a good team, I mean, my goodness. Todd Gurley was on his way to being my favorite running back of all time. Like, if he just had another good 3 years, then I think he probably would be. Eric D. Books, he was like today's Henry. Yeah, I mean, he was a beast. Hopefully Bobby Brown can make some noise. Yeah, I'd like to see Bobby Brown step up, and I think bring him along slowly is a good way, and, maybe get some snaps and get some reps more and more every week. I'm a Faulk guy, but Dickerson was tough. I was saying toy. Trey Murphin, as much as I want to see Vaughn play, I don't mind them resting him until after the bye to ensure he's healthy. Yeah, I mean, if it's really coming down to that, then rest him. But I really think that, if he can go and he's not gonna risk his ankle, then I mean, the 49ers offensive line woes right now, I think really would warrant Von Miller. It's crazy. When he came over the Rams, his first day there, you see him, doing all the drills. He looked fine. He looked like he was ready to go. But I mean, that's what it looks like on 5 seconds of footage from 5,000 miles away. What's up, Ramley? Where the TF have you been? What's up, Joe Lewis? Just busy, man, life and everything, but all good. Getting my German driver's license. So been taking a lot of time. Had to take the theory test. It was studying 3 hours a night for a month. No joke. German driving theory test will take you out all the way. Shout out to the Rams fans from the Tony Banks QB days when Todd Kitchen was our second best receiver. Oh yeah, Lawrence Phillips, Tony Banks. I mean, those were forgettable days, man. Those were forgettable. The 90s were rough. It was wow, they're in St. Louis, so what are you gonna do? But yeah, I was there. Books, blunts, and BS. I was there for that. Our wide receivers were straight joke pre-McVay. Straight joke. We went from everyone feeling bad for Rams to hating the Rams. Have come a long way. I know it is crazy. We're like the villain now, but I think people just need to look back and see where that's why I feel empathy for a lot of losing franchises, because that's kind of how we've been for a long time. Would you stop hating the 49ers if it meant that the Rams could have a dynasty? I mean, hypothetically, having a Rams dynasty would be dependent on you not hating the 49ers. I feel like the Rams kind of have a dynasty. I mean, I'm not talking about winning championships, but it's the Dodgers in a way have had a dynasty because they've been so good for so long. I feel like the Rams are in that boat. I think it's harder to have an actual dynasty in the NFL. I think a dynasty to me in the NFL is just making the playoffs every year. If you make the playoffs every year for 8 to 10 years, that's a dynasty. You know how many teams don't make the playoffs? Most teams don't make the playoffs. So it's I don't know. It's hard for me to say. I mean, I don't know if I give them a hate. Stuff to say. I don't know. I have to mull that one over. Okay, I'm not going to just jump right into that. RV Hopper, Trent, I went to the Monday night game in San Francisco with 2 other friends. I was living in Florida at the time. We lose 28-0. Oh my God, how painful that was. That plane ride home sucked. Oof. That's why you should have not taken a plane. You should have drove in an RV. It's in your name. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm sorry that happened. Yeah, that's a rough one. Daniel Duckin says we had Cup, Woods, and Cook a few years ago, and Cup, Woods, and Watkins before that. We've had plenty of good wide receivers since 2017. Watkins and Cooks didn't look so good because Goff couldn't throw long. In 2018 was the last year Goff was throwing long. 2019 a little bit, but then 2020 nothing. Oh yeah, the 2016 game. Yeah, 2016 is just not even. Like when the Rams are rolling out Sean Hill, Kellen Clemens, for like 3 years in a row, and a little bit of he's the backup and Case Keenum. He's just like, what are you going to do? You have no chance. You have no chance. Even with Sam Bradford, you really didn't have a chance. But that's why you have to have a quarterback. Ashton says, well, I'm really behind here. So I'm sorry I'm not getting to all your comments, guys. I'm actually going to wind this down here. But I just really want to say that the Rams, I feel, will win this game. I think it's going to be tight at the beginning, but whoever wins the turnover battle, whoever converts more on third down, that's where it is. If the Rams can stop the horizontal players in space on third and long from getting first downs, then they're going to win the game. If Matthew Stafford doesn't throw stupid Jared Goff interceptions, the Rams will win this game. So it'll be interesting to see if Von Miller plays or OBJ plays. Man, I'm really running out of gas. I just hit the wall. I need some sugar. But anyways, I'm really stoked about everything. I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to see you guys or read you guys. And I'll be doing a post game on Tuesday. So we'll see how that goes. Or I don't know if I will actually. Busy schedule, work dinner. So we'll see. But anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for showing up. I really missed all you guys. I really appreciate seeing you all here. And as always, go Rams.